jump into it now. So my first question right away: how do you feel about The Rock getting the XFL and bringing it back, kind of reviving it?
Honestly, I feel like it's the best case scenario because it comes from a guy who he's kind of has a reputation that everybody loves the guy. You know,
Right.
it's kind of hard not to like the guy. You might not like his movies, but overall as a person, from like what he's come from to what he is now, and he has a football background as well. Obviously, he was in the NFL for like a hot second, then went to the CFL, was in the CFL for a hot second, and that was kind of his first dream, was to be a football guy. And then for him to take over the league and for that cheap as well, I feel like it's a win-win scenario for everybody. And hopefully he does a lot himself, as well as his ex-wife, who's a part of it as well. She signed. But yeah, I think it's a win-win for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely, I agree.
That was good football too. So
yeah, no, it was fun to see, man. It was very different paced, very more like up paced with the whole game, with how fans were involved, fewer commercials, faster playing clock, and just there's a lot more action, I felt like. Because even after the games, I personally was exhausted more than a regular game just because of how much was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Crazy to think.
Yeah, it was fun.
So what's your advice to athletes right now just during the whole COVID thing? Because obviously, maybe you don't, like I'm in New Jersey, we don't have a lot of facilities open and things like that. What's your advice?
Find a way. The circumstances are great right now, but you have to find a way to get 1% better every single day. And it doesn't matter how it looks. It doesn't matter whether it's, something that may look dumb or something that may, look better than what you think. You just have to find a way, whether your parents are helping you or your friends are helping you. Like right now, you just need to find a way to get it done. And like for me, there's even some spots in Boise where I can't even get to a field. I have to go find some sort of park that has a pole that I can kick at. I some days I don't even have uprights. And when it comes to like weights and stuff like that, if you don't have weights, find bands. If you don't have bands, lift your animal. If you don't have an animal, lift your garage a different way, or something to get better, something to continually work towards your craft, and something that's just overall going to take your mind off of all this as well, and bring a motivation that you need to continue to have to be the best person and be the best athlete you could be.
That was a great answer, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Because that's something that I've noticed a lot of the athletes I train. I mean, right now it's tough. It's a tough problem, especially the younger kids, like high school, middle school.
Yeah,
they're so used to being in the classroom with their friends, and now people are telling them they can't do that, and they have to try to be motivated on their own.
No, it's definitely a hard time for younger kids. I would say from probably 14 to about 25 is where I think it would be the hardest to live right now, especially if you're doing athletics.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
So where are you at in your career right now? Because obviously you just did the XFL. I know you did some arena football, and then obviously you were at Boise. So where are you at in your career right now?
Right now, it's it's almost kind of like everybody else. We're trying to figure it out. Still chasing the dream. Obviously, with the XFL announcing they're coming back, hopefully that can be a fallback for me. And right now, I'm in California to train and work with an old kicker who was in the league for what seemed like forever, with John Carney.
Mm-hmm.
And going out there and we're working. and just trying to be, the best kicker I can be, and put the best version of myself on the field, and, looking to attract some sort of NFL team to give me a shot. And if that doesn't work, then, we're going to have to go full blown with the XFL. But right now we're just, we're searching for a spot, because we had good film. Myself had good film with the XFL and had a good experience, and hopefully it continues to the next level. Just with this whole COVID thing, it's bringing another obstacle and another loop to it. But we're fighting away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I was going to ask you this way later, but can you please try out for the Jets? Because we've been having kicking problems. And, I've looked at your stats. I've seen a little bit of film. I know you would be a better kicker than Sam Ficken right now. No.
Yeah. They have Ficken, and they signed, I drawing a blank right now. He was with the Cowboys. Maher. Yeah, Brett Maher. Yeah, they signed him too. But yeah, I've kicked with Ficken probably 4 or 5 times, because he comes to California a lot too to train. Really good guy, and he started out really good. Kind of had a little bit of a bitter taste to his ending of the season, but that'll be a good competition between them two.
Mm-hmm. For sure. But I still want you. I'm voting for you.
I appreciate it.
How much do you think people undervalue kickers, snappers, just special teams in general? Do you feel like people undervalue on how important special teams can be?
Oh, a ton. Not just the specialist position with kicker, punter, snapper, but special teams in general. I think most people think that, punt team, kickoff return, punt return, field goal block, they think that that's just kind of like a play that people take off,
right.
That they breath back, that they can do this and that, and they don't know the numbers between it. With punt and punt return alone, there's numbers with the field position battle. With kickoff, same thing, field position battle, whether you want to put your ball in a certain location, or you just want to go with a simple touchback to the 25, or you're looking that, if they have somebody on the kickoff return team who is one of their starting receivers, you kind of want to put a hit on them a little bit, just kind of get them rattled a little bit. If you're looking at field goals as well, 3 points add up, and they add up fast. And soon enough, 2 field goals alone is obviously you're a touchdown and a missed PAT away from that being the same thing as a regular, and 3 field goals away from a 2-possession game that you didn't know was going to happen because they didn't score a touchdown, but you still had 3 field goals put on you. All those things matter, especially when you have a kicker who you can hit from longer distances, because some coaches, once they get inside whatever the range is, like most kickers, you can probably get to about the 55, I would say with most, and you can feel comfortable with them putting, a ball in play for sure. And coaches play call different. People don't think that they don't play call different, because why would they try and settle for 3? It's not about that. It's you're trying to score every single possession, no matter what the possession is. And, it's one of those things that gets overlooked by the untrained eye, you can say. And yeah, it's way more important than what people think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
And what originally made you become a kicker in the first place? Because when people are dreaming about being football players, they don't think, oh, I want to be a kicker, So, what made you do that?
It wasn't until kind of like my freshman year of high school was my first year of football. And my dad was a freshman football coach. And the thing about my high school was playing freshman football wasn't all about football to him. It was kind of like the coming to age of high school. And he was the dean of discipline at my high school at the time. So not only was he our football coach, he was our dean of discipline. And so it was kind of his way of breaking in, some of these boys, trying to make them into men, getting into high school and trying to do it early. And so we get there, and at the time I was actually like our number 2 corner. Didn't have very many good guys besides our 1 and 2. So I kind of found my way there. And I was just kind of getting annoyed that I wasn't on the field. And I was like, all right, I got to find some sort of way. And I always played soccer, and I always, I was always the guy who took longer kicks, did different goal kicks, did penalty kicks, everything like that. And I was like, you know what? Let's do this. And met up with one of my buddies who was a kicker for a rival school. And we met up, and it caught on fast, and it caught on natural. And it was something that I had a ton of fun with earlier, and I just kept going with it. And that was when my freshman year, I was like, I think I could do this. I was like, and then that next summer was, gosh, I don't know how I didn't blow out my leg, but I probably kicked every day of that summer. And sophomore year came, and I came out hot and made varsity my sophomore year, and it was kind of, from there.
That's awesome. Now, at that time, or just in general, were there any kickers you looked up to while you were growing up?
Yeah, I mean, there's, John Carney was always one. He was in the league forever, and he just seemed kind of just like your prototype automatic guy.
Yeah.
Obviously, you look at Vinatieri, and at that time was, he just got done kicking the game winner for the Patriots over the Rams, and he was on a tear. And I looked at that, and I loved that. And my team then was the Pittsburgh Steelers, and at the time they had Jeff Reed, Jeff Reed pretty automatic as well. And Jay Feely was another guy as well. Jay Feely, what I liked about Jay Feely is it always seemed like he was hurt, but he just kept playing. And that was something I always liked. I always remember, just because it was something, for some reason, the announcers wanted to say that first. Oh, he's got this injury and this injury and this injury, but here he is. And yeah, and those were kind of just some of the guys that I knew of and I looked up to, and guys that I try to replicate swings after.
Is there any kind of particular advice that you would give to kickers, whether it's college, high school, really any age, just kind of based off your experiences?
Okay, there we go. For me, I would say, gosh, one, you have to swing your swing. And what I mean by that is you have to figure out what your style is, because no 2 swings are going to be the same, just like no 2 things in life are going to be the same. So you can take a different style, you can look at a different style and base your swing off of that, but it's not going to look the same. And you got to look how your body and yourself, wants it to look. And from there, you got to work. You got to work at it. You got to do dry swings. You have to plan out different things. You have to record yourself and look at your different recordings and everything like that. And you have to just take off with it. And kind of like what I said earlier, you have to find a way to just keep working. Even if you don't have uprights, you got to find a way. Kind of the hard thing there is to find balls. I mean, if you get your hands on 2, that's good enough. And then you just got to find your way from there to just keep working and do everything in your power to, from there, try to be the best kicker and put the best product of yourself on the field.
Absolutely. So talk about what your recruiting process a little bit like. Were you heavily recruited out of high school? When did Boise State come and what made you pick them?
So out of high school, I probably had 20 walk-on offers to a bunch of different schools. And, it was frustrating because I had probably 4 or 5 guys around me that were going to USC, going to Nebraska, going to UCLA, Washington, Utah. And, there were always coaches there. And even my senior year, I come out and I was the California special teams MVP my senior year. and I didn't have one scholarship offer, and no coach was even coming close to doing it. And so from there, I actually accepted a walk-on offer to the University of Nevada at Reno, and was basically signing on to get a scholarship the second semester. And I got there in June, was there pretty much all of June, July, and then come beginning of August. There was some different, they had some struggles with a little too many people in the school and what they thought. And, they raised a couple different academics to get in, different scores that they require, and I didn't meet them. And so they sent me home from Nevada, where I was supposed to go for school. And so I went to a junior college. And from a junior college from there, I mean, I could have easily just said, I'm good. I just got sent home. But I loved it way too much. So I went to junior college, and, I came out of the gates real hot, and everything went really well that whole season. And about game 6, I was, talking to Boise State, and I just hit a game winner in overtime. And that was when Chris Peterson called and was just like, hey, we're going to give you a scholarship. And it was, that was like a weight lifted off my shoulders after that happened. And then from there, he called it himself that there was going to be a bunch of different schools that come in to offer me. And, everybody says that once you get your first, that's where so many more come, and so he did it like on a Friday, and come Monday, there was like 10, 15 schools at my junior college that were looking to offer me. And I wasn't about it, because some of them didn't even, they had to look at a paper to say my name, but I was just like, I'm good. I've been talking to Boise State this whole time. I love everything about them. Love Coach Peterson. Love everything about the school. And, I had schools that were in like the ACC. I had schools that were in like the Big 12. And I think that's one thing that I'm glad I did, was I didn't go to the school that just because they were bigger and they had bigger names and stuff like that. I went to the school that better fit me and better fit where I could play. And, even though I sat out my first 2 years at Boise State, I knew that third year and my junior and senior year that I'd be able to play. And I wasn't certain with that with the other two schools, or not with the other two schools, with the other schools that, gave me the scholarship offers. And that's, definitely one thing that I would tell kids now, that don't try and just go for the big name school where you can get lost in the system. Go to the schools that, one, you can be you. It's somewhere that you're going to enjoy, your family's going to enjoy, and that maybe you can even spend some life thereafter. But you can have the best experience that you can have, because some things may not work out, some things may work out, but at the end of the day, you have to enjoy your life, your quality of living, and your experience, and being able to compete for a spot.
Exactly. You want to be able to enjoy the school you're at, and also be able to get on the field some too. So
yeah,
I think that's awesome advice.
So going into your junior year, what was it like to be a semifinalist for the Lou Groza Award, and then the next year be on the watch list? Because I looked at the list, like it's a pretty prestigious crew that's in there. What was it like being a semifinalist and all that?
Yeah, no, it was awesome. I thought for sure I was going to be a finalist. Might have had some politics play into that, but that's stuff that I couldn't control, and it's just kind of just stuff I can say now. But no, it's an honor, but at the end of the day, it's another thing that your name is added to, and it's another thing that you get exposure for, and that comes with just working hard, because when you work hard, good things happen. And when you put your head down, when you do the right things, and when you do things correctly, good things happen for you. And that's ended up what happening is I just put my head down and I just kept working. And our coaches had enough belief in me, and we had a very young offense that year to where it almost seemed like every time we got to the 20, we just stalled. And sometimes we even went backwards. We still scored a bunch, but we just kept stalling in the red zone. And so they had enough belief in me to just, let me do me. And yeah, ended up going 25 for 30 that year. Led the country in field goals that year. I think I was 1 or 2 with points that year as well, or might be top 5. Records were broken and all that. And then going into the senior year, being on the watch list early is always something, it's a feel good. It's just a watch list. So, but, to be recognized like that. And then, my senior year, I think we were number 3 in the country in scoring that year. So our offense grew up a little bit. So my field goals got cut down in third. But at the end of the day, it wasn't about me. As long as we kept winning, who cares? I just had to do whatever I could do for our team. And yeah, but I mean, it was, to have those, to be on the list, to continually have people who recognize it is always, it's good. You want to win it because at this point it's almost like a ribbon, but gosh, I was hoping to be on that top 3 my junior year, but it just, cards weren't in my favor.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
So now when you're talking about field goals, PATs, talk about how important the snap and the hold is for you as a kicker.
Everything, because there's no, the snap sets the tone. High, low, middle, it always sets the tone for what's coming. And that's what sets off your offensive linemen, whether, kind of different routines, everything like that. But the snap always sets the tone. And the thing is, if nobody notices the long snapper, he's doing his job. Once you start noticing, you say one thing about the long snapper, he's probably not doing his job, or he's just firing it back so fast that you're just like, holy cow, you can't even see that ball. But if you do not notice a long snapper and he is virtually invisible, he's doing his job and he's doing it well, which leads to the hold. The hold is one of the most, aside from the snap, people need to understand that it needs to be from hand to hand within or under a second. Yeah. Most of the time, 0.5 to 0.6, and it needs to be laces out or laces in the general area that people don't know that's not up to the holder. That's the long snapper needs to do his job well enough to where he needs to figure out the rotations, how many rotations there are and how many times to get it to where it's laces out to the holder. And that's one of the biggest things. And then from there, the holder needs to just take it and put it down as fast as possible. Every once in a while, going to need to adjust the laces, but he's going to have to figure out what kind of tilt the kicker likes, what the scenario is. Is there wind in the face, wind at the back? Does the kicker like a different hold at this time? He needs to get all of his hands, extremities out of the way, and then he needs to do it in a way that ultimately how the kicker likes it. And then from there, that's where the kicker does his job. There's 10 guys who needs to do their jobs before the one lone kicker does his job. And that's the biggest thing.
That's such a big misconception, just in general. I never knew that until I started being friends with football players that, long snappers and things like that. Yeah,
it's huge. A lot of things that, again, the untrained eye won't pick up or won't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm a huge Pat McAfee fan. I'm sure you watch him just because you're a special teams guy, and he's a legend. He's the man. But he said once, and I want to know if you agree with him. He said that kicking is just a totally different game than football. It's a different game in a game. So do you agree with that statement first off?
100%. That's something that you'll hear from a lot of, especially professional specialists, that you have to play a game within the game. It's like golf. You have to play a game within the game. Every time I go out there, kind of the last thing I think about is what's happening on the field, what's happening on the scoreboard, and kind of just what's going on. I need to play the game of where am I aiming the football? How is the wind going to play into effect? What are the different conditions that are going on? and I need to hit my target for, to put points on the board. And that's huge, because once you start thinking of all the different outliers that's going on, outside of what you're doing, that's where, you really start screwing up.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And then not a lot of people have this experience, and obviously you do just because you're a kicker, but what is it like to miss a kick, and how mentally strong do you need to be a kicker?
Yeah. I mean, it's a miss. I mean, once you do it, you look back at what happened, between that. Most of the time you have to get a snap hole kickoff and, about under 1-3, 1-3, you're kind of pushing it. But if you could get it under 1-2-5, you have to look back at those 1.25 seconds and figure out what you did wrong. And with most teams, about 95 to 98% of, any football team, you're not going to have a kicking coach. And you need to quickly learn what you did and what you did wrong. And you need to, be mentally strong enough, mentally stable enough to look at it, to learn from your mistakes, and to move on. And you got to move on fast. And you can't look back at what happened. You can learn from your past, but you have to look to the future right away. And that was something that I definitely learned early, and I've been pretty good with. Is once something happens, I learn from it fast. I learned my wrongs with it. I learned, kind of different body movements, what I felt, what I did like, what I didn't like, and I moved forward.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's something I try to incorporate in my game too, as a quarterback and as a snapper too. It's like you got to have that short-term memory. Just like those three positions: kicking, quarterback, and long snapping. It's all three are it's very mental. So like you said, it's about learning how to recover from that quickly and just move on and learn,
Yep, 100%.
So now, I was wondering this. So I've grown up in Massachusetts my whole life and everything. So I was wondering, how did you like your experience out here being with the Pirates? You being from Cali, kind of. This is probably your first time experiencing Massachusetts, right? It was when you were with the Pirates.
Yeah. I honestly, I liked Worcester. I had a quick correcting when I first got there. I was like, oh, the city of Worcester is pretty cool, and I did that in one of the local hospitals while getting blood, and she had to be 80. She literally looked at me. She's just like, if you want to live here, you gotta know how to say it right. And she's like, but don't say it like you're from Boston. Say it like you're from Worcester. And I was like, well, how do people say it from Boston? And she's like, Worcester. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I was like, wait, but I was like, you just took out like 4 or 5 of the letters. Like, what do you mean? And then she's like, that's not up to me. That's just how you say it. And she's like, if you want to live here, you got to learn how to say it right. I was like, all right, my bad. I'm sorry, 80-year-old grandma who's going to take me to school right now. And then from there, I honestly loved it. People are very blunt, which is what I liked. Everybody was pretty outgoing. You see people who just talk that want to talk, and the lingo is definitely different. Super different lingo, different scenes, different dressing, and just kind of how people, go about their way of life. A lot more partying than in California, that's for sure.
Really?
Oh yeah, way different. Way more partying than California. There was always, it seemed like there was always just different stuff everywhere, people everywhere. But I enjoyed it. I couldn't have had a better experience while I was there. And then I also have family that lives in, what was the city? I just drew a blank on the city, but it was only, I can't remember for the life of me. For some reason, I had it in my head and I just drew a blank, but it's like an hour and a half away. So they went to a lot of the games as well. And then kind of afterwards, I always just hung out their house. Even on, off days, I just went there and hung out with them. But I loved it. I loved everything about Massachusetts, especially.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm from New Jersey, and like, so when I remember saying Worcester, and all the people, everyone was like, "Are you serious? You said that?" I'm like, I'm sorry. And then like the accent something too. Like New Jersey definitely has an accent, but I was definitely blown away the first few times.
Yeah, you get to Worcester, and you get to when you're in Worcester, that's the only R you're gonna have pronounced when you're there.
Yeah.
Is the R Worcester. Everything else, you're not hearing it.
Exactly. State.
So we saw when you were doing some research on you about you have some ties to Chad Johnson. So kind of talk about that a little.
So when the XFL was going through their training camp, I had been in the player pool the whole time and didn't end up getting drafted. But towards the end of training camp, when they were in Houston, Chad Johnson was like, "I'm going out for kicker. I want to revive my XFL and NFL career being a kicker." And so they're, XFL doing well with their publicity. They were like, "Hey, we'll make a tryout around you." And that's what they did. So they literally made a specialist tryout around Chad Johnson. And I would say 3 teams, including DC, invited kickers. And so there was me, 2 other kickers, and Chad Johnson. So we get there like the second to last day of camp. And, we're about to go out to kick early in the morning. And we get there, and it's, me and the 2 other kickers are kind of looking at each other like, all right, like, where's the man at? And we asked the director of, player personnel of the whole league, "Hey, where's, Ocho Cinco at?" And he's like, "Oh, he's not coming." We kind of told him that it couldn't be like a CNN, whole publicity stunt type thing where, couldn't have Barstool Sports, couldn't have cameras. Like, we're going to make a real workout out of it. He just ended up not showing. And actually the night before, there were some major UFC fights. And I want to say it was Conor McGregor the night before. I can't remember if it was Conor McGregor, but he walked out with him. It might have been Conor McGregor. And he was there at the fights. And I kind of thought about it, and I was like, there's no way he's going to be at tomorrow. Like, there's just no way. He's not going to go from – and it was somewhere not in Austin or Houston, Texas. I was like, there's no way. So that was kind of my first idea. But, yeah, they made the workouts around Chad Johnson, and that's kind of how it all